it going before it's too late. So basically, I'm here with my man Dean Sprayer. One of the trainers from Woodbine connected me to Dean, Mr. Teston Holder, and he told me Dean is one of the best veterinarians around Barbados. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna make my trip to Barbados. I'll make sure to go see Dean Sprayer and get some insight from him about horse racing, about some of the stuff that goes on in horse racing, and so forth. And also to hear his story about horse racing. So, sir, again, you told me earlier you've been around horse racing for how long now?
All my life, pretty much. My dad owned racehorses. My uncle was a jockey, pretty successful jockey. My family is involved. Other cousins that ride. Another cousin that's a starter at the Garrison. Of course, I call races as well. So easy.
Right.
Lights flashing. Racing 2010, running of the Sandy Lane Gold Cup is on its way. And Pure 10 kids.
Right.
Yeah, basically my entire family has been involved in horse racing. Almost some member of the family, for as long as I can remember.
So currently, you're the one who calls the races?
I'm one of the race callers as well.
So let's tap back a little bit. So what happened for Friday's race? It was supposed to go on Friday.
It's just, we have a turf track. We don't have the option to switch a race off the turf. It's either grass or nothing. And of course, with the rainy season, we just, we can't risk damaging the track. One thing, and then of course, there's always a safety issue for horses and riders. And it's just too wet. I mean, it's not like we can go and switch tracks, or it's not like in Europe where they have a race on the turf track where it's soft, but the horses can move across the track significantly. For better going, safer going, that kind of stuff. So it's just, what the things we have to live with here.
I got you. So since we touched, because I kind of forgot about you calling the races. So
there's some people that
give us a little bit about how you started a race.
I just usually just go with racing.
Say it again.
Racing it's a lot of short-term memory. And one of the things people seem to forget is that none of us are trained in announcing. It's not that we do it 6 days a week. So, sometimes I go there, I'm mentally tired, but I'm going to push through because I've had to be in the office with patients in the morning, maybe go to do a couple of horse calls, and then I'm rushing to the Garrison, grabbing a hot dog on the way down for lunch or brunch. So sometimes you actually start the day a little, you're already tired. And then calling races here, it's a little bit different in that because the track is tight, things tend to happen quickly.
Right.
It's one of the things, and also one of the things that affects riders as well. And then, sometimes we have colors printed in the book that don't match what the owner's colors are when the horse jockeys come out. Then we have a race with 4 or 5 horses belonging to the same person, or even 3. Or even 2, we don't know who's going to have on what color cap, what jockey's going to have on what color cap, until the jockey gets in the parade ring. So you get a 3-minute window to try to memorize, blue cap, pink cap, red cap, yellow cap, which does present its own challenges, but I think you guys here, not just speaking of myself, I would include Lyndon, Yard, and Neil Gill, I think, and of course Rashawn, who's no longer with us here at the Garrison. But Rashawn, who also called races, he went off to North America as well. But considering that none of us have any particular training in it, and we don't get to do it 5 days a week. We do it every 2 weeks. We get a call 4 or 5 races. I think we do an okay job. Some people will have a matter of taste. Yes, we all make mistakes. Some people, of course, harp on those mistakes, but my attitude is, let's take a Gold Cup day where we have over 100 horses race. If we make one mistake each, that's 98% correct.
That's right. Now, speaking of Gold Cups, I guess next year is going to be back.
Seems that way.
Are you looking forward to that?
Yes and no. Gold Cup Day is always a hectic day. It's a challenge, especially for us guys in the box. We want to be entertaining. We want to be informative. We don't have a big team, like for big days where you would have a bunch of people who are just doing color commentary. We tend to be running between color commentary, calling races, back to color commentary, having to do it all. It's a bit of a thing, and then of course there's the pressure to get it right because it's the Gold Cup. You want to get it right.
Right, that's right. Now, what's the best Gold Cup you've ever called?
The best one I ever called. There are two that stand out for me. Sterling's. Easy. Lights flashing. Racing 2010 running of the Sandy Lane Gold Cup is on its way. And Pure Temptation is up early. Apostle coming across from the outside goes to the lead. So it's Apostle doing what he likes to do in front from Pure Temptation. Are You Talking to Me is next. Bounce Back is up on the outside. Drift about 3 lengths before we get to Daylight Express. Also up early is John Brand this afternoon. Then we can see Brewon on the inside. Up on the outside is Bad Action, who's got Grace Chapel for company. And the last one is Stirrings as expected as it passes stands the first time of circuit to go. So Are You Talking to Me? John Brown with a grand run, but they've got to catch Apostle. And the one who coming with a grand run to do that has to be Bribon. It's Apostle hanging tough on the inside. On the outside, here comes Bribon to ask a question of the gallant Creole. And there are no more turns in the Gold Cup. And Bribon has come to the front. Apostle can't answer him. It's Bribon who's galloping on now. Apostle is second. Stirrings is thundering down the middle of the course. It is Bribon and Stirrings. Bribon and Stirrings. Here comes the line. It is Stirrings who gets out to beat Bribon on the wire. Down the inside, Bad Action was third. Invaders are 1, 2, 3. John Brown was the best of the local horses. Apostle and the last one home was Bounce Back. In a moment, we'll be back with you to give you a recount of the 29th running of the Sandy Lane Gold Cup. I thought that call was pretty good. And the other one is one that some people say got a little too excited, and that was Celestial Storm.
No.
And that's because I tried to buy Celestial Storm for myself. Didn't get her. It's a Parvachino border, and then the Sierra Border in the Spa and the Gold Cup. It's kind of bittersweet, but to know that that's the horse I picked out, just gonna afford.
Is there anything that you've say for instance you preconceive maybe some lines that you may call in a race? You ever get a chance to say them?
Not really. I try not to go to races with any preconceived line. Sometimes I do have an idea of what I would say if something happens. And anyone else, we have our own little catchphrases that we use. But there are a couple calls that stand out where I thought, well, that was an interesting line. There was one, I can't remember the name of the horse, but I remember she was on the inside behind a wall of horses. I said, she needs an invitation, and then the rails opened up and she came through, and I went, she has room to dance, and dance she does, like Ginger Rogers guided by Fred Astaire. And it just came out, right?
Nice.
And then there was probably the most emotional call for me. The last horseman that I purchased from OBS, the horse called Way She Went, and I called her first race, and this was just after he had passed away. And I just had a gut feeling she would win. At about, what would it be, about the 60th hole, and just last 100 yards or so, it was clear she was going to get home. And I started to cry, and I remember going, I don't know where she went, but I know where she's going, to the winner's circle.
Beautiful.
But I did not actually see the finish of the race, because by that time, headset was coming off, and
Emotional.
it was really emotional.
Yeah, I can only imagine, man. Can only imagine. Um, Horse racing, the love for horse racing. How passionate are the fans when you see them talking, interacting about horse racing?
I think Barbadian fans are unique. Um, they hail for stables no matter what. Um, if they like a horse, they will argue about that horse and which horse is the best for eons. I mean, even in the racing break, I was driving by Garrison. There was a line at Garrison. There was no race. It was a Saturday evening. I stopped by, had a couple of drinks with the guys, and left. Got home with my girlfriend, and then someone called me, and we ended up back down there. I left down there at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and they were still down there talking horse racing. And arguing about a race that ran in 1985 and who rode one in 87, and this jockey didn't ever rode that horse. And I'm like, these guys really, they eat it out. I know the fans here are special, but they're also very harsh. I mean, jockeys, they get cussed. I mean, sometimes they don't even have a chance to make a mistake. I know of at least 3 guys that on the way to the start for the first ride were being heckled and that kind of stuff. It's really, really tough game here. The fans here, but they're knowledgeable, don't get me wrong. But they are hard on riders, they're hard on the announcers. I mean, there's one particular guy, I think he goes races to listen just to see if he can make a mistake. It is.
I gotta ask you this, man. Because you call the races, you watch the races. Is there one jockey in particular that stands out every time you see him ride a horse?
Not for me. For me, it's called horse racing. I think I've seen mediocre guys win races because they're on good horses. I've also seen it, but to me, it's you get good jockeys, average riders, and a lot of sometimes what people call bad riders have just not had the opportunity yet. For me, a good rider is a good rider. There are some, I think, whose riding styles are, how should I put it, people choose the wrong rides for them. You take a guy who's very much a front runner jockey, and you put on a horse who rides most of his best races right in front. You put on a horse that comes from walking pace. I don't say he can't win, but it doesn't win. And here he rode back. No, it was just not his element, or things just didn't work out. Or you see guys ride really bad races and still win because they're on the best horse. And I've seen guys ride really brilliant races and just got beat. And you could bet they're going to go beat, get watch it after the race.
So let's switch gears a little bit here and go back to the veterinarian stuff. And how important is the vet work for these horses?
One of the things that I want to say is that there's no vet is going to make a bad horse good. Our best rule is to try to keep them healthy, sound, as best we can. And, a lot of advice if possible. Try to keep it simple. First thing, do no harm. That's been always my philosophy. And people say, well, and that applies to me as an owner as well. I am very quick to retire a horse if I think it's hurt, or if it's sore, I give it time off in a hurry. I don't believe in pushing the envelope too much. But it's always a judgment call.
Now, do you naturally see the difference when the horses get, say, for instance, the shots, whatever vet work is needed, compared to the ones that don't?
Well, there are going to be those horses that are a little achy and sore. And there are little things you can do to help them out a little bit. Of course, in Barbados, our armor is limited because you have a zero tolerance rule.
Right.
So, while let's say in North America you may be able to go into a joint a little closer to a race, we can't do that. You can go into a joint, but we got a wider withdrawal time and stuff like that to pay attention to. But thankfully, we don't seem to have as many bad injuries as one would think, considering the size of our track. And sometimes our track can be a little rough.
Now, I know that the season in Barbados is a little bit short. Is that mainly because of the limited amount of horses?
Well, there's a combination of things. We only have probably 250 to 300 horses in training, maybe including 2-year-olds. We also have to recognize that it's a grass track, and it's therefore we run more races on our grass track in half the year than Woodbine would run on theirs for a whole year. To put it in perspective,
We keep that good.
like most racetracks in America will not run as much turf races as we do. So it's a challenge to keep it track in raceable conditions, because as you can imagine, as I said, we don't have a rail that we can move in and out any significant amount. So it's very easy to get the racing line down to bare dirt or ball patches.
Now I've seen you guys put some lights around the garrison, and how often is it being used though?
It's being used pretty often. I actually enjoy the night races. I have one people that believe we're probably better off running a shorter card. I have a couple more race days and have them at night. Preferably a Friday night or Wednesday night, something like that. Starting maybe 5 o'clock. And the reason is it's cooler. So especially during the summer months when it's really hot, those horses then are out there. If we have a first race at 12 o'clock and 12:30, that sun is really hot.
Yeah.
And horses would prefer. Many horses will perform better under cooler conditions. Riders as well, those guys that have to make weight, they'll be sweating and dieting hard. That also gives them a little ease, as well as far as dehydration and so on goes. I also think because we are competing against so many other sports in Barbados today, the malls are open. I remember when Bridgetown closed at midday and there was no shopping malls, the garrison was packed with people because it was something to do on your way home. It was one of the few forms of entertainment available. Now we have to compete with so many things. It's a little more challenging. So perhaps maybe if we had a midweek racing instead of the Saturdays. I'm not saying don't have any Saturday racing, maybe big days, Gold Cup, Derby Day. Keep those Saturdays because you will still put a crowd by holidays. But I personally am thinking that racing is the way to go. I personally enjoy it. I prefer it. It's cooler. It's just a nicer atmosphere, and you're getting a pretty good turnout of fans. Some just aren't even really race fans; it's just going for the experience.
Right.
But if you can get them there, then you worry about keeping them there. Let's get them there first. Is my philosophy.
So some work still needed to be done.
I think so. I personally just think I would rather us have the more evening races during the week than just Saturdays, because Saturdays, I think what we're getting are just the die-hard racing fans.
That's right.
The tourists. Because there are guys whose family won't go any mall, and this body got this thing to go and do, and there's this cricket, there's this other sports going on. So we have the opportunity to be a little bit different. I think we should take advantage of it.
Now, from a veterinarian point of view, down Woodbine Racetrack, there's so many grooms, so many horse people around there. What makes Barbados special when it comes to those guys who work so much around these horses?
I think one of the things that happens is that the guys, most of our grooms come from that area. They grew up as kids, wanted to be jockeys, they wanted to be around the horses, and they knew maybe from day one that they weren't going to be small enough, or they're going to be, they don't have that part of it, but they want to be involved, and there's that love passion for horse racing as a result. These guys will look after horses in the morning and then sit down and watch horse racing till afternoon and then go deal with their horses. And when they're finished, go back and watch more horse racing. So a lot of it is just a passion from being around there from young,
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. I think all the horsemen and the horse people involved would really appreciate that because there's a lot of people that are looking for more help, and the more help, the more better for you guys.
One of the other things that I would say this, one of the great things that happened was when Ricky Griffith and Chris Griffith, they were the first, especially Ricky, left Barbados and went to Canada. They went and started opening the doors. And yes, we've seen other people become maybe more successful. Yes, Chris was a 4-time champion, 4 or 5-time champion, so I can't remember exactly how many times, for dairy. But they opened the doors, and then we saw the Callahans and the husbands and the others, Ricky Walker and Rico Walker out west. But the initial push was them, and then of course we break over into the US with guys like Rocco Boyd, Rashawn Lashman, Timur Trauman. When you think about it, this push really started. I mean, you actually know Venice went for sure. Well, and Godfrey was up there as well, Godfrey Griffith. But Ricky and Chris, I think, were the two that really got the doors, the floodgates open. And when they started to have success, then other riders followed. And then when other riders followed, a couple of grooms line in. And then next thing you know, we have trainers, and it's amazing. I think it's actually fantastic.
Yeah, it actually is. I mean, I think that there should be a joint connection with Barbados and the rest of North America.
Well, I think it will happen. It's not going to happen overnight, but we're breaking through. And look at Nathan Squires. The young guy comes from down by the Garrison, and he was at Breeders' Cup on Friday with a live horse and ran a big race. And I've got to say, congrats to him. But they're breaking through slowly but surely, piece by piece. They are getting there. You saw Rico Walker, who's done fantastic out west with all those Canadian derbies and stuff like that. Steve Gaskin. And all it's going to take is that one horse. I always tell people that it just takes one horse. It only takes Nathan Squires to get that one horse, or Steve Gaskin to get that one horse. Who knows, maybe one of the other riders that follows Patrick will get that one horse, and we will see them at Breeders' Cup or Kentucky Derby with live rides. I think it's a matter of time. And once these guys keep doing well, and it's going to inspire the others to leave here and go. I think the biggest problem for us here then is that the pool get, as I say, a lot of riders as soon as they're in a couple of races, they're like, yeah, be out of here. And I can't blame them. I mean, riding 5 days a week versus riding once every 2 weeks. It's a business. They still got to live. And the opportunity for them is there.
Well, I know there's lots of riders, lots of people involved in horse racing in Barbados, and I'm sure there will be a lot more once those guys go. They're going to be a lot more coming.
Oh yeah, they'll create. One of the great things is they leave. There's always going to be someone to take their place, and it creates opportunities for those guys that are desperately trying for that opportunity or waiting for that opportunity to come. So it's a good thing. I think it's a win-win situation. And so far, thankfully, most of the guys who have gone abroad have done well for themselves. They have done the island proud. They've done our racing community proud. They've fought, they've struggled. I mean, some guys are still struggling. You take a guy like Ted Holder who struggled for years. I mean, Ted deserves all the success he's getting.
He's on his best year so far.
Yeah, he's having his best year. Nathan going to Breeders' Cup. I mean, Nathan, for years, Nathan was there with these bad horses, just getting by to win a race or two, yeah, but nothing to really make an impact. But you know, it takes that one horse, and now hopefully that owner that horse will go, well, you know what? We got one, we got a Beers Cup, we got a little taste of what it's like. Let's get two more. Or maybe someone would also say, you would get a friend to come in and say, well, yeah, I'll put someone. Because it's really hard to compete. I mean, you got Staffy Joseph, who's also doing ridiculously well as well. But it's hard to compete when you don't have any backing to get started. When you're trying to win a race, you can a $10,000 claim or a 7.5 claim or a $5,000 claim or a 4 dairy. And you're trying to move them up. There's only very rarely can you move a horse from, let's say, 7.5 to 15 or allowance. It doesn't happen. So it needs someone to come in and you need to get a little lucky. Maybe buy a 2-year-old that turns out better than his price tag. You know, and it does happen. I mean, I've had some success in Canada with a couple of horses that ran better than their price tags for us.
And what were some of the horses that you've been involved with?
In Canada, we had my first horse was with Donnie McCrae, a horse called Athena Rose.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she won a couple for us.
I remember that horse.
And then we had another horse I was successful with until she got claimed for us, and she went wrong, was Adele's Princess. I had her with Kevin Willie, Peter Navy. Then we had some success. The last horse we had was very successful. It was pretty good. We had some success with him, even though we only had 2 races with him before we sold him. It was the Devil's Back, which was also with Kevin Willie, Peter Navy, Chris Griffith.
Then you know what? One thing that I'm noticing about you guys is that you guys are well-rounded. You know, a horse people you guys get around. You know.
I think we have to be well-rounded because when we learn to ride, if you want to be a jockey, you want to learn to ride, you want to be around them, you better learn that you're going to learn how to clean the stable, how to groom them, how to swim them, how to bathe them, how to pick up their feet. You're going to learn, it's not just about getting on and riding, you know. At least back in my day, we learned how to put together a bridle, how to put together gear, how to clean gear, pick it apart, put it back together. That just goes with being a rounded horse person.
Yeah. You know what? I traveled from Canada to Barbados. I say, you know what? I have to get this interview in because my guy Ted Holder say, look, you have to go see him because he got so much knowledge, you know.
Well, Ted and I go a long way back. We met when he was working at the Starter Games, saving my butt. And we just became friends, and you know, Ted is one of those guys who give you his shirt off his mouth. He's really a hard worker, and he deserves his success. You know, and I look forward to the day to see a guy like Sil Oliver get the kind of success because Sil works hard, he tries, but he doesn't have the backing. And, you know, just the other morning at the race shop, we were talking, and someone asked me what I thought made it for a successful trainer. I said, you know, successful trainers, yes, you go to work, you got to really put in effort and time and have knowledge of horses. But the ones that are really successful, one of the best things they have going for them is to find either they had big, deep pockets or they found owners, were able to get owners early with deep pockets, back them. Because when you go to a horse sale, and you're buying 2 horses and you're paying $10,000 US for them. And another trainer is going to that same sale, he's buying 10 horses and he's paying $3 million for them. Right there and then, you're up against the wall. It's very unlikely that your 2 $10,000 horses are going to be better than any of his $500,000, $200,000. It just doesn't work that way. Very rarely. It does happen, but
very rarely though.
But you know, there's safety fences. Yes. Yeah, I go to these sales. I mean, that was about $6,000 US. but we were hopeful that he would be good. Adele's Princess, when she was a bit more, we didn't buy her any sales, she was a private bike. But at the end of the day, you know, the chances are that you're going to get something special. Very slim.
Now, last question. So, do you look for the sales like every year, or do you pay interest to them?
So I love the sales. I think I got the bug for going to the horse sales when I went, and unfortunately it was only one time I was able to do that. I went to the October Horses and Training Sales in Newmarket with my dad and Luther Miller.
And that's Newmarket in the UK, right?
Yeah, that was an awesome experience. And then, he took me to the Ocala sales. This is early up in their days, and Martin sale was half the size that it's now, but we were now starting out, and it was an experience. And then Chris Slade and I went to, I think, the first time I went to the sales, I went home with him. My dad was going to Facet Tip to yearling sale, and I just loved them. If I had the money, I would go to sales every, and this sales, chunky according to Nathan, I would go to every sale possible. I love it. Even if I'm not shopping, I love the atmosphere of the sales and looking at the horses. It's a good way to keep training your eyes for confirmation and stuff like that as well. And you just meet some really cool people, you know, like a guy called Boy Bob, who's, he's one called Singers at OBS, and you know, he breaks the yearlings and trains them, and he's quite a character, lovely guy.
Well, you know, one of the things that the trainer told me was new horses bring new life. So that always stuck in my mind, you know.
Well, yeah, you know, when you got, you know, as I say, you know, when you get up on a morning, as a guy said, you know, when you go to the bar, when you know you're going to the bar and you got a horse that could be going to the Kentucky Derby, or it looks like it could be going to Breeders' Cup, getting up at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning to go to the barn is a lot easier.
Yeah. So, Dean, again, I want to thank you, man. Thank you for the time. I mean, it's been a pleasure listening to some of the stuff that you had to say. It's a lot of information. I know there's a lot more, but you know, it's Barbados, and I gotta run somewhere else. So I want to thank you for your time, man. I really appreciate it.
You're more welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, my brother.
And left hard drive on the outside here is normally shared out. Venator starts to falter, but you can sing this feel a lullaby. They have been put to bed. Major Marvel.